I was born in a hurry, and I guess all of my life as a child was in a hurry. I was always out trying to investigate so much about life and questioning things of my family. I had an older sister, Joy, and two younger brothers, David and Jim. And we were a close-knit family. After I was finished with high school, I decided that I wanted to pursue occupational therapy. So my mother said, well, I went to Kutztown, so let's go out to Kutztown and get you in there. And that's what happened. It's interesting how life presents opportunities and challenges. There were a couple of us from high school who didn't have anything to do the Christmas after we graduated in 1950. And so I said to Ruth Rodale and another friend, Betsy Cook, let's get together and I'll show you the slides of my European trip. And bring your friends, and by the way, Ruth, why don't you bring your brother? And she said, oh, he's too busy. So that night, they all came to my house, and yes, Bob came along. And after the next 2 days, I got a note from him, and he asked me to go to a play. And that was in the Christmas vacation, and on the 20th of January, he asked me to marry him. And I said yes. And we were married in June. 9 months and 1 day after we were married, Heather was born. And she was such a wanted child. I was so thrilled. Bob had chosen the name for Heather. He had seen it in the New York Times literary supplement.
I know that the first time I realized that my family was different from my friends' families was when I was a little kid. My grandfather sent me to school with health pamphlets to pass out, and the kids called me names and the teachers looked at me in disgust, and I said, you know, to my grandfather, don't ever make me do this again. And he said, someday they will see that we are right.
And 20 months later we had Heidi. And I thought for sure she was going to be a boy, but we were delighted that Heidi had joined our family. And was really proud of my two girls, and so was Bob.
I also remember her taking us on walks down to the farm and having us pick vegetables and then having to clean vegetables. And we did a lot of canning and freezing of food. And she put us to work, and it was, at the time I didn't like it, but I think it was good. It was good for us, and learned to appreciate that kind of thing.
And David came along, and Bob cried that David was born. And he went into school. The children were going to nursery school at that time. He went into school to tell them that they had a brother. And we were really happy. David was a wonderful child. After David, there was a 6-year time space before Maria was born. And I had a hard time convincing Bob to call this child Maria. I said, yes, she needs to be named after Maria and the Sound of Music. And so Maria just came and joined the rest of the family, and she fit right in.
We had a very sort of traditional family in that, you know, dinner, we had to be there at 5:30 every night for dinner, and that was where we talked about the day. And there's usually a lot of farm fresh food. We raised our own cattle in those days, and chickens. We still raise our own chickens, and so it was a very healthy type of positive experience.
And Anthony came along 3 years after Maria, and our life changed. Our life changed because Anthony would not sit still.
We would have visitors come every once in a while, and the family would give people tours, people who said that it was their lifelong dream to come to visit the organic gardening farm, and people have driven 3 days. And so we all, as a family, we all played kind of educators and tour guides as we were growing up.
It was always my hope that I could make sure that my children were safe and happy and had a wonderful life. But as life goes on, you realize that children become in charge of their own lives, and you need to open up your hand and let their spirit be free to be who they are. While we face challenges with all of our children, the hardest of all was the challenge that we all had to face with David dying in 1985 from AIDS. And I never ever lost hope that he would not get better. And when I left him in the hospital the last night, I said, David, I'll see you on my shift from 2 to 5 in the morning. And I was sure I would. We had all circled David with our love around the clock. We took shifts. And when I went to the hospital after the doctor called and said that David had taken a turn for the worst, I felt that I really needed to return him to my body. He looked so beautiful. And I took my hand and rubbed it over his strong, still warm arm and prayed, thanks God, for releasing my son from his struggle, but oh, I wanted him a while longer. After David was gone, I heard him telling me in my heart, Mom, you have a story to tell. You really need to get out there and share what's happened in our lives to help other people. So that's how the inspiration for Climbing Toward the Light happened. My next challenge came along about 5 years later when I was diagnosed with cancer, breast cancer, and I had a lumpectomy.
I've worked with Ardie on breast cancer projects. We co-chaired an effort at the Lehigh Valley Hospital to encourage women to participate in a clinical trial, a tamoxifen clinical trial.
The next challenge I had was when, in September of 1990, when I was getting ready to go on a very big 3-day speech-making tour on AIDS, and one of the presidents from the company, John Griffin, and Maria and Heidi came to the door, and Maria said to me, Mom, get off the phone right now. And I did, and they blurted out that Bob had been killed in Russia. It was an unbelievable, unbelievable bad dream. You kept thinking that it couldn't be true, but was. And they brought his body home, and the Russians had made a cypress box, and it still smelled wonderfully of the fresh cut tree, and it was all decorated. And the next biggest challenge came back with cancer again in the same place where it was before. And I decided right then and there I was going to be a winner. And I was going to make sure that my life was just filled with all kinds of positive experiences and reaching out to other people to help them now, not only for AIDS, but for cancer and for those people who were also suffering with losing someone very close in their family.
I don't know where she gets the inner strength, but I know she gets more of it when she's helping other people. And I think that's one way that she likes writing stories and telling stories to other people, because she's then talking about herself and, in a sense, sharing her experiences with other people.
I think in looking over all the experiences that I've had in life and what message I would like the people out there and the rest of the community and the world to know is that big is not necessarily the answer. It's not power that's important, but it's the love that we can share with other people.
She is a community leader. She is an environmentalist in the very best sense of that word.
We are so excited about our new South Mountain Center building. When we decided that we were going to build this book building, we said, we're telling everybody about taking care of your environment, taking care of people. So in the building, even though it's a very large building, long and wide, light filters in to the spaces on the inside. A very, very special place in the center of the building on the first floor is a kiva. It's a quiet space. People may come in here to use quiet time to expand their creativity, to be inspired.
And I believe that Ardie, through all the work she has done, all of her life, and it seems to me that Ardie, for the time I have known her, has dedicated her life to improving the quality of life for others, which is about as noble a way as you can spend your life, as you can imagine spending your life. Ardie, through all these activities, has really brought hope to others. So she's not only a woman for all seasons, she's a woman full of hope.
Ardie Rodale is a citizen of the world, is a model for everyone I know, and certainly for all the women at Cedar Crest. A symbol of light, a symbol of water and life, and a great friend for the whole community.